Hi guys, in this video I want to show you how I solved the challenge of carrying a heavy e-bike on square drop or T-drop trailer, on a trailer that doesn't have a hatch coupling at the back. Now some of the square drop or T-drop trailers come with a hatch coupling at the back of the trailer, so you can insert your vertical or any kind of bike rack that you have. Now the problem with that is if you have a heavy or expensive bike or an e-bike like this, I'm not sure if you really want to keep it all the way at the back there where you can't see, you don't have any visibility of what's going on there while you're driving. So for me that was not an option. Plus my trailer, my custom built DIY trailer, doesn't have that coupling at the back. If I ever build another one, I'll definitely include it at the back. However, still for heavy e-bikes, I probably wouldn't want to have all that weight at the back of the trailer. So I was thinking, what are the alternatives? Well, I could potentially use roof racks with a bike rack that goes on the roof racks. The problem with those bike racks is that they're not adequate for very heavy bikes like e-bikes, which are these days anywhere between 20 to 25 kilos. So again, that was not an option for me. Another issue with that is you have to lift up this heavy thing all the way up to the top of your car, and that isn't very easy or convenient. So I started thinking and brainstorming, where else could I carry this bike when I go on my trips with square drop trailer. So if I can't put my bike on the roof and I can't put it at the back of the trailer, the only other option is the A-frame area of the trailer. So I started playing around with the bike and positioning it one way or the other way around the A-frame. So in the end I realized that the A-frame seems to be the best spot to install some kind of a custom built bike carrier. One of the challenges I had to solve is that I wanted to keep my toolbox. I didn't want to remove the toolbox. Now you may have seen on the road, I've certainly seen a couple of trailers that have special hatch coupling installed or welded to the A-frame, so you can actually insert your vertical bike rack onto the A-frame. But for me that also wasn't an option because I wanted to keep my toolbox. So as I was playing around with this bike and positioning it on the A-frame, so I noticed that the most natural position for this bike is to place the rear wheel on top of the A-frame and then lift the front wheel and rest it against the trailer cabin. This allows me to position the bike right over the toolbox, so I don't have to remove the toolbox. So now the challenge is, how do I keep this bike in this position? So this is where I came up with a little design based on the vertical bike rack concept. So I realized I will need this kind of a hoop at the bottom to keep my rear wheel in position and firmly connected to the A-frame. So first thing I'll need to do is build a bottom hoop like this, where the rear wheel will slot in. Now my rear wheel is 27.5 inch, my front wheel is 29 inch. Now once I have the hoop in place, the next question was how to secure this hoop onto the A-frame. And this is where I came up with a little concept of using these angle brackets that fit snugly around my A-frame on one side and the other side, and then connect them with a horizontal steel plate. So what I've got so far will keep the bike's rear wheel in place. Now the final challenge is how to keep the body of the bike stable and not wobbling around. So this is where I came up with the final part of this concept, and it consists of welding a vertical bar to the angle brackets and then welding another small T-bar right at the top, which allows me to tie the top of the bike to the bar and keep the bike securely in place. I've also welded one extra rod on the other side to keep it more firm and more stable.
Now the final challenge of this project was how to secure the front wheel so it doesn't wobble around too much. One idea that I had was to potentially build another hoop for the front wheel and connect it to the rest of the rack via a set of additional steel pipes. But I realized that that's going to be a lot of extra work, and it wasn't quite necessary, because I came up with a much better concept, which is using these tie-down straps to secure the steering bar to the trailer's roof rack. And as you will see later on in the testing video clips, this works quite well and keeps the bike fairly secure and firm enough for transport. Now, when it comes to tying your bike to the rack itself, I've learned that the best thing to use is these tie-down straps. I've kind of learned this the hard way, but I've been playing around with the rubbery stretchable straps and they're not very good. I've tried using Velcro type straps, they're not good either, and not very safe. So these work the best. So you just need to find the right length that you need, and then you can use these straps to tie the bottom wheel to the A-frame, the side of the frame to the T-bar here, and finally use same type of straps to tie the steering bar of the bike to the trailer roof racks. As you can see, this rack allows for a little bit of movement and a bit of flex, which is quite natural. To install this bike rack onto my trailer's A-frame, I've ended up using U-bolts. Well, I've actually ended up using custom-made U-bolts because I wanted to save some money. But you can simply just purchase standard U-bolts that will fit your particular trailer A-frame. The cost for this project was under $100, so it was fairly cheap. The small T-bar that I've installed on the top of the vertical steel pipe, I've wrapped it around with a soft sponge to prevent any damage to the bike when it's leaning on the T-bar. Now the final step of this project was to test this bike rack in real life. So as you can see, I've attached the bike rack to the trailer and taken it for a maiden voyage. You can see in these clips that the bike rack provides sufficient stability when the vehicle is in transit. And all in all, I'm very happy with how this project turned out. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to post a comment. See the description section on how to download the blueprint schematics for this bike rack. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.